South Africa's trade union Numsa is hosting the International Dilemmas of Humanity conference in Johannesburg. International and local speakers as well as socialist movements will use the opportunity to debate and probe solutions to global challenges. And Ziniko Mhlaba is there for us. You're in Constitutional Hill in Braamfontein. Ziniko Mhlaba, talk to us about what to expect today.
Well, good morning to you, Duduzile. As you said, that international voices, especially who are subscribing to socialism globally, will be meeting here in Johannesburg. This is the third session, or this is the third round of this engagement, and it's being hosted by Numsa here in South Africa. It seeks to deal with all the global issues that are facing South Africa, but also how the issues of imperialism can be tackled according to the program. So it comes at a time where the global community is currently also debating that attack on Palestine. So we'll hear how much that makes these conversations, or how much it makes into that particular agenda of the day. But to give us more details and what's on the agenda today and the key expectations, delegates from international community but across the globe will be engaging on that matter. Let's bring in the Secretary General of Numsa, Mr. Irvin. Thank you very much, sir, for your time. The international community is meeting under this gathering at the back of what's happening globally. There's a lot of debate about what's happening in Palestine, and looking at how South Africa has been reacting and engaging on that matter. What context is this gathering? How will this gathering be contextualizing that conversation? But also, what international voices are you hoping that they will get an opportunity to engage on this matter here in South Africa?
Well, I must say that we're very happy and very thrilled that finally we've pulled together this conference. We've got all the continents of the world here, and you would appreciate that the conference takes place against the backdrop of a threat, should I say boldly, of a possibility of a nuclear war. We think that as humanity, as human beings, as people who can think, we have got all the reasons to come together, to strategize, to discuss, and answer the question, how do we avoid another third world war, which could take a form of a nuclear war? I mean, we are surrounded by wars. The war between NATO and Russia, the war now that has broken up between Palestine and Israel, the wars in Central Africa. We have taken a view as a union a long time ago that human beings, and with latest technologies today, we shouldn't be destroying each other. We shouldn't be destroying each other because of greed of imperialism. And we are in all of this crisis, not because humanity cannot take care of each other, cannot love. We have a crisis of a very aggressive, greedy imperialist system that seeks all the time to oppress, to exploit, to maximize profit instead of advancing humanity. The forces that are assembling here today, from the 14 to the 18, are the forces that are going to be debating how do we bring an end to these wars? How do we unite and organize the best influential people all over the world to say no to the continuous war between Palestine and Israel? And Israel, how do we say no to the war between NATO and Russia, which of course it's a war that is presented as Russia-Ukraine war, but from where we're sitting, this is a war of greed. There's no need for doing this. Human beings all over the world are confronted with poverty, unemployment, and inequalities. We've got the latest technologies. Even if somebody argues that we must move from fossil fuels to renewables because we are not dinosaurs, we should be moving with times in terms of global warming. We have got the abundance of all various energy mix that can be deployed in a manner that does not hurt people. We can defeat poverty, unemployment, and inequality if we're to defeat greed that want to conquer everything for a tiny few.
I mean, looking at what do you make of South Africa's stance on this matter? You've got civil society organizations, you've got the president himself, President Ramaphosa, also showing solidarity with the people of Palestine. However, there are some voices that are saying and are questioning South Africa's stance in support of Palestine. So what do you make of how South Africa has been responding to these matters?
I think we are confronted. The United States makes everybody to walk in X. I mean, it's not just a question of Palestine. I mean, one of the things as a union, as we're sitting here, we are being threatened as a country on the basis that we should be basically keeping quiet and not taking a view. In fact, we are forced to join side in a war between Russia and NATO. It's a war between Russia and NATO. From where we're sitting, we can't be joining any war. We must end wars. We must take positions that position us so that we can resolve conflict, talk peace, negotiate peace, and so that we can end the war. We think that the position that the South African government has taken is a correct position. We invited Minister Pandor to open this conference to address us on these particular questions, because as a union, we're a union that firmly rejects any war, because any war is fought by the hands of the working class. It is the blood of the working class that gets spilled. It is inflationary pressures that basically get spread. If you are a developing country and you are in the continent Africa, we are at the bottom of the food chain. We can't be invited to participate in wars. We want to take ownership and control of our minerals, beneficiate them, do away with structural adjustment programs that are responsible direct for our miseries, for our poverty. When we can industrialize, build an economy that can create jobs, quality jobs that are paying a living wage, we can destroy poverty.
All right, just lastly in a minute, Mr. Jim, what's on the agenda today and for the next 8 days? And in terms of the key speakers, we just mentioned the communist, what else is on the agenda in just a minute?
Well, this conference is a very neutral conference. It's a conference where we allow everybody to talk about everything. It's a conference about dilemmas of humanity. We're asking hard questions, such as how do we end the war, as I said? How do we organize the working class? How do we build socialism today? By socialism, we don't mean Stalinist and other people who want to characterize. Socialism is dynamic. It is built under concrete conditions. We're asking those difficult questions. We coined the conference as about how do we build socialism today. But in essence, we're asking, why should, when we are surrounded by wealth, by all minerals that are needed all over the world, in this continent and all over the world, why should humanity suffer? When we've got abundance of resources, minerals, all what we need to do is to take ownership and control, affirm our people who are economically marginalized, landless, dispossessed. So we're debating those questions, and we need to stop this thing that because the people of Cuba, for instance, would have said this is their part of development, Venezuela, and yet they are imposed with sanctions. About 30% of the population is imposed with sanctions by the United States of America.
Thank you very much, Mr.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That's Mr. Irvin Jim, the General Secretary of Numsa, giving us insights on what can be expected on this particular conference, which is taking place here in South Africa. It's the International Dilemmas Conference hosted by South Africa. It's a third edition. So, as you said, that we are expecting the Communist to open this conference. And of course, what we are likely to hear, or what is likely to be at the center of that opening address by the Communist Dr. Pandor, is that issue of Palestine and how the global community, and especially South Africa, is contextualizing that war, and what's our position, and what is it that we're doing to ensure that we express our stance as explicitly as possible. Back to you, Dudu.
Zineko Mhlaba, thank you very much for that report.